Hello viewers who are waiting for the latest information on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Welcome back to Future Channels. Today we will watch a video about the moment when the Ukrainian FPV drone blew up dozens of Russian armored vehicles. Ukrainian forces have just deployed an FPV drone to blow up a column of Russian armored vehicles. A video shared by the Defense Ministry on Twitter, now known as X, shows the Ukrainian FPV drones blowing up a column of dozens of Russian armored vehicles, including 3 T-72 tanks, 7 armored fighting vehicles, and 1 infantry fighting vehicle. The Defense Ministry stated, "Our FPV drones effective on the battlefield. The soldiers of the 72nd Mechanized Brigade, with the help of a drone, turned a column of Russian tanks and IFVs into scrap metal." The attack took place near the settlement of Novomykhailivka in Ukraine's Donetsk region, which Russia has been trying to seize since October last year. A camera mounted on the FPV drone captured the attack. The convoy was maneuvering close to the front line across eastern Ukraine and was vulnerable to artillery fire and fast, precise drone strikes. Russia can build 100 tanks a month, allowing it to maintain its offensive efforts at the same level despite heavy losses. Russia's ability to continue the same level of offensive has been thrown into doubt as Ukraine receives support from Western countries, from which it has acquired some of its tanks and much of its more modern weaponry. A British think tank said Russia had lost almost 10,000 battle tanks during its invasion of Ukraine, but the stalemate in the fighting was likely to continue. However, the agency said Moscow had withdrawn older tanks from storage. The report saw Russia potentially sustaining heavy losses over the next 3 years and replenishing its tank stockpile. Some footage shows exploding FPV drones speeding toward Russian tanks and armored vehicles, with the feed suddenly cutting off before impact. Other footage provides panoramic views, showing the dark shapes of moving tanks, some of which burst into flames as the drones explode, followed by smoke. A clear victory against armored forces is important as Ukraine increasingly views relatively cheap drone technology as a way to counter Russia's advantage on the battlefield. Ukrainian forces are also using swarms of FPV drones, led by a Queen drone, to attack Russian positions, a Russian soldier said in an interview with the Russian newspaper Izvestia. In a video shared by At War Translated on Twitter, now known as X, this Russian soldier appears to be witnessing a swarm of Ukrainian FPV drones, led by the Queen repeater drone, which descends on Russian positions and begins bombing. The swarm consisted of about a dozen drones, and the Queen was somewhere at a high altitude within a small detection range. She led the swarm of drones, which descended on her position and began to work, the soldier said. Russian and Ukrainian forces have been using FPV drones since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in February 2022, and they have proven to be an effective and low-cost weapon. Perhaps the main priority here is to master the entire arsenal of relatively cheap, modern, and highly effective unmanned aerial vehicles and other technological means. These assets allow commanders to monitor the battlefield in real time, day and night, and in all weather conditions. While the number of casualties from the damaged armored column remains unknown, the attack prompted a backlash among the Putin-linked pro-war Z channel, which expressed frustration at the perceived incompetence of the military. Russian military bloggers have grown increasingly frustrated with the army's military tactics. Russian troops have continued to engage in self-sabotage by gathering in large groups to attack Ukrainian positions, making them easy targets for Ukrainian drones. Throughout the war, numerous videos have emerged showing Russia losing large numbers of armored vehicles, including footage taken in the eastern Ukrainian city of Avdiivka, which has become one of the most intense flashpoints in the war. Meanwhile, Zelensky urged his allies to address the shortage of homemade weapons and said stalled US aid was crucial. He praised his forces for finishing off Russian forces at some points and said the troop withdrawal was partly due to a lack of weapons. Russian flags were raised in parts of Donetsk. Hours after Ukrainian forces hastily withdrew from the ruins of the city they had held for a decade. But Ukrainian forces are under pressure at other points along a front that stretches about 1,000 kilometers from the Russian border in the north to the Black Sea. The Russian military may sense a vulnerability in its enemy. Better equipped Ukrainian units are exhausted after 2 years of fighting. There is a new commander, Oleksandr Syrsky, and Ukrainian forces are low on ammunition and vulnerable to relentless airstrikes. While President Volodymyr Zelensky and his armed forces aim to reclaim all illegally occupied territory, Ukraine is struggling to prevent Russia from adding to the roughly 18% of Ukrainian territory it already controls. President Vladimir Putin aims to seize the entire Luhansk and Donetsk regions in the east, but few believe he would stop there if given the chance. Russia launched a determined push to capture Avdiivka in October, but has also made advances near Bakhmut and Mariinka, and towards Kupiansk in the north. On the southern front, in Zaporizhzhia, Russian and Ukrainian sources speak of a large Russian troop buildup in the area, where Ukraine tried to counterattack last summer. Some analysts say as many as 50,000 troops have been deployed. The Russian gains in recent months have boosted Russia's morale. But Ukraine's defeats are a grim reminder of its dependence on Western arms and ammunition supplies. Delays in expected aid deliveries have left Russia short of supplies and hampered its fight. Russia is likely to continue to exploit its advantage, sensing that Ukraine is weakening. It has pounded Ukrainian territory with bombing and shelling in recent days. It is also seen as another move to secure Moscow's grip on the regional center of Donetsk, about 20 kilometers to the east, which has been held by Russian and pro-Russian forces since 2014. Neither Russia nor Ukraine has provided details of their losses in the war or the fierce fighting in the border region. Western intelligence assessments say hundreds of thousands of people on both sides have been killed or wounded in the fighting. Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade, which officials said was deployed to Avdiivka this week, said via telegram that it had withdrawn to prepare positions on the outskirts of Avdiivka and rebalance the front line. Daily updates from the Ukrainian military provide a glimpse of the firepower now being used by Russia. It launched a total of 13 missiles and 104 airstrikes, firing 169 multiple rocket launchers at Ukrainian military positions and residential areas.